Alas, I have come to slay you. Why? Because you're a dragon. But what have I done to hurt anybody? What? I'm just here, living in my cave. You've just come out of nowhere, and are all like, "Oh, I'm gonna slay you," but like, why? Um, uh, redemption. That's why. Like, redeeming from what? I donate to charity. I bake for the bake sale. I don't really understand what your problem is. Um, yeah, well, I thought it'd look good in front of the princesses. But you make a good point. Can I can I buy some of the bake sale cakes? Well, well, no, because well, I don't like you. So what? What? I think you should maybe go away now. Ah, yeah. Well, fair enough. Have a good day. Gee, some people. Am I right? Who am I talking to? Ah, well, back to trolling people online for me. Hello. Welcome to Leaky Street in underneath Waterloo Station. It's been one of the only few places in London where you can legally spray paint. Started off by Banksy in 2008. So it's also just down the road from the Vaults, where they used to do the Vaults Festival in February, which was a good sort of combination of kind of comedy and arts festival, which I miss. I think they stopped that a few years ago. It used to be very good. But also a bit of a hotspot for tourist selfies and what have you. Anyway, I am going to talk about some other books. I've already done a book vlog a few months ago, but this is a slightly different version of books. That was more sort of like people getting into comedy, their voice, whereas these are more technical books around comedy. So the first one is what I alluded to in that video. Actually, it's Stuart Lee, How I Escaped My Certain Fate. This is one of the ones, I read this a few years ago when I first started. It's one of the ones that is often on kind of like the key reading list of people getting into comedy. And it's basically a transcript of 3 of Stuart Lee's shows with sort of footnotes where he kind of sort of talks about what his intention was, talks about how he varied that part of the show from night to night, talks about how, somehow some of those bits kind of came up in through development. But 80% of it is just the actual notes, the transcript. But the notes and sort of reading it in that way, I think really kind of force you to look at the whole overall arc, which I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about the show. The next one is a director's guide to the art of stand-up, which is quite a new one actually. It's only been released in the last year, I think, by Chris Head. Very much obviously a treatment for a director, and he's directed several Edinburgh shows. It talks a lot about what a director does. It's sort of about probing rather than polishing. It's about knowing when to sort of like take the initiative and sort of force a point, and when to sort of hold back. It also sort of highlights the fact that whole process of development, as I'm experiencing it, is quite messy. I'm actually able to go and see my director of sorts now to talk about the sort of show that I'm trying to put together. It's not a sort of linear thing, you'll make missteps, but the big focus here is about making sure, unblocking things for the performer that the audience may not be getting. It's almost like taking the audience's position and making sure that intent is really clear, and that where things are, the intent of the performer's bits and the overall ideas of the show aren't clear, then they're sort of helping to identify those and polish those up. So really interesting kind of way there. I'm going to lend that to my director as well. And then the final one, Adam Bloom, Finding Your Comic Genius. This one has been out for maybe a couple of years now. Adam Bloom is a active stand-up on the British circuit. been going for quite a long time. And this is very much kind of a technical how-to guide for actual stand-up writing. It's sort of literal, like here's some rules that he thinks are worthwhile, things like the seesaw and how you would structure a punchline versus a setup, and even like a stage name and the first name versus second name and the number of syllables, some really technical sort of tidbits in there. But again, there's overlap there with the focus of what Chris Head is doing, and again, it's very much about being intentional, and making sure the actual order of your words that you're choosing for your punchline are optimal to ensure that the intention is, the audience make the realizations in exactly the right moment, in the right order, at the right moment. And there's some other sort of very practical bits in here as well about, what to be looking for in terms of corporate gigs. There's a real deep dive as well. It's probably the book I learned the most around when you talk about sort of how persona, status, and style all kind of marry up to, all those things need to be aligned to really optimize and make a satisfying experience for an audience. I would recommend all three, but in very different ways. Obviously, we'll take very technical, more technical approaches to books rather than some of the autobiographical ones that I talked about last time. I really enjoyed them and had a lot of takeaways from all three. Actually, realising I probably should reread a couple of them because I haven't read them in a little while, so I think there's value there. Anyway, have a nice day. Hope you're well. Hope you could hear all of this. Bye.
Next video should be here. Enjoy.